Good evening and welcome to the Link to the Past Randomizer League Season number 2. Tonight we bring to you this matchup between the Cloud Parade and Third Strongest Mole. I'm Adirondack Rick, being joined of Mind of Me. So, introduce our runners, shall we?
All right, for representing Clown Parade, we have Shareen rocking the Shy Guy sprite. Shareen is a frequent participant in the daily races and regular SRL participant. And representing Third Strongest Mole, we have WesSideVandal rocking the Nest sprite. A little bit newer to the community, was a participant in the Challenge Cup earlier this year. They're facing off in the Week 1 Open race as part of the Lake Hylia division.
Yeah, and this is going to be a stacked division. We have the Wu-Tang Clan, the Wu-Tang Clan rather, featuring Emo Cero's group. We have the trio featuring Weighty Words Andy, and it's going to be a really, really difficult division. But the winner of this race is going to have the divisional lead at the end of this night.
And anytime you can get those early points, it feels good. It's a huge boost to the team. The other members of Clown Parade, I'm sure watching from the sidelines, are PRD Wong and Dracaris. And the other teammates for Third Strongest Mole cheering on WesSideVandal will be Drunk Future Shelf and Virtua Cat.
Yep, Shareen has chosen to be the red pendant as far as the groupings are concerned. That comes into play during the playoffs. So, you want to mention about quickly before this race gets underway, what we're looking for in this race as far as the divisional standings are concerned. What does the winner get towards the divisional standings?
So divisional standings, it is 3 points for a win and 1 point for a tie, being recorded as within 2 seconds in SRL time. At the end of the 7 weeks of league, the top 3 teams in the division get to move on to the playoffs, with the top team in each division getting a bye to the second round.
Yeah, so obviously points do matter. And getting yourself onto the right step here is what both of these runners are going to try to do for their respective teams. Shareen, the red pendant of the Clown Parade. WesSideVandal is the green pendant member of Third Strongest Mole. We're just about ready to begin this. The Week 1 match, as you mentioned, 7-7 open defeat Ganon. We'll talk about the upcoming weeks for all of these teams coming up, as well as take a look at the Lake Hylia division schedule as we get going here. We are underway. What do we have for our first item?
Get that small key in Sanctuary, double Sanctuary start. We'll see if we get a map check real quick as soon as they step outside.
And we do get that map check, and green pendant turns out to be up on the Tower of Hera. We have crystals over at Desert and Eastern, neither of them part of the 5-6 combination. So obviously we're going to see the normal standard here of open mode 7-7 defeat Ganon. Looks like Shareen is just going right straight for the Lost Woods, while WesSideVandal is going to check this first tier. Tree Pole gets 4 blue rupees, which will be nice towards getting yourself the 100 rupees you need for Kakariko Village. The bush crabs are giving out hearts, unfortunately, and we're going to find out what is in the lumberjack tree as Shareen finds a shovel. What's in the tree?
It looks like today it is only 20 rupees. Won't need to defeat Aghanim for that. Shareen is dropping down into the thieves' hideout to get that other Lost Woods item, and it is our power glove. And with that, he is just going to nope right out of there. Probably going to check the back of Escape.
Either check that. No, actually, he's going to start with the house. And this actually is going to make some routing sense. You're going to try the 50-50 bomb luck here. First for the underneath this stone, and then over towards the Haunted Grove area. But also, Shareen's going to be able to check to see what that shovel lead.
Absolutely. As our runners continue to go and look around in these so-called Sphere Zero locations that are accessible only with the Link items that Link wakes up with and bombs and rupee.
Unfortunately, Shareen coming up empty in the bombs right there. Is going to go ahead and reload the screen in just a moment. Finds the Moon Pearl. That is 2/3 of our Dark World access right away. All we need to do is find a hammer or the other glove upgrade, and we'll have Dark World access.
Those are both great early finds to have. It gives you a lot of options in terms of both sequence breaks and ideas of what you're looking for. Like you said, they could be looking for another glove or a hammer for that Dark World access. A lamp would also give us Death Mountain access.
And Shareen might be able to route this in such a way. Although WesSideVandal is going into the back of the Blind's hut here without any bombs in the hand, hoping to get lucky in these 4 chests. We do get our first bottle. We get some arrows. We get a piece of heart, and we get the blue mails. No bombs for WesSideVandal so far. I didn't even get to see what was in the library. That was so fast.
That was a half magic, so that's a nice safety item if they happen to be coming around here with the boots. Perhaps if they're activating their flute or doing a transition into Village of Outcasts. But we're going to get the back of the tavern for 20 rupees and the powder and another 5 rupees. So we will have early Dark World access via the Titansmiths.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see Shareen go right straight for the Dark World once after we get done here. There's the bombs from WesSideVandal, so he's going to backtrack into the well to find out what he missed back there. Also check to see what was in the back of the Blind's hut. As Shareen continuing through here, 5 bombs in hand, doesn't have the rupees to purchase the Bottle of Thunder just yet, so he will in just a few moments.
All right, we're going to get synced well checks. WesSideVandal showing us that it's just the fighter shield in the back, while Shareen will get his Titansmith shortly.
And these are checks that you don't want to leave behind because it can take a little time to double back to, especially if it turns out to be something important. So there's the Dark World access for Shareen, gets the powder as well, and WesSideVandal's backtracking into Blind's hut. Unfortunately for WesSideVandal, this is just going to be time that he's yielding to Shareen at this stage. As Shareen now picks up another 3-pack of bombs to put him at 7.
I'll have to see if Shareen goes and decides to turn in that bottle right away, but we get our first weapon, a sword, in the back of Blind's hideout. That's going to be really essential, especially if these runners decide to dip into Dark World early.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see Shareen pull into the Dark World, as I said before. It has pretty much only one other check to make in this village at this stage. It's the Shy Guy turns blue with that blue mail.
WesSideVandal gonna pick up a nice little bomb refill from the chicken hut, and we'll see what Shareen decides to do.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does check the ticket at this stage while you're here in town. It's not that big of a walk, and then now that will become the question. If he doesn't save and quit, he's heading for the Dark World.
We are getting our sick kid check, and a bottle today gives us a heart container. Not going to say no to that with early Dark World access pending.
And he is heading right straight for the Dark World at this stage. So just to let people know who are just tuning in, each week is going to be different as far as what these runners will end up having to do. It's a team of 3, as we said during the pre-broadcast. This week it is the 7-7 open defeat Ganon. Next week it's Ambrosia, and we get ourselves the map check. We get the pendant over at Swamp, as well as Thieves Town. 5-6, I think, was Mire and Skull. Is that correct?
I can confirm that, and yes, as this week is the regular open defeat Ganon, as Shareen is going to make his way into Skull Woods. Week 2 is Ambrosia Settings, which is a variation of Standard. Week 3, Randomizer. Week 4 is a Mystery Seed with waiting specifically for the League. Week 5 is Cross Keys. Week 6 is a Key Sanity Spoiler Log Pilot Seed. And then Week 7 is an All Dungeons Co-op week.
And that's going to be a very interesting pair of weeks there towards the very end. Those weeks 5 and 6, or rather 6 and 7. And again, each division, 8 teams in it. Top 3 move on to the playoffs. Gonna be a lot of fun here, so stay tuned. We get our first item here inside of Skull, and at this point, Shareen has just decided, nope, you go ahead, just kill me now.
And WesSideVandal soon to go and pick up that Moon Pearl. I imagine that will likely be a save and quit to Sanctuary. We still do have the back of Escape open with those gloves, as well as all of our South Shore checks.
I think WesSideVandal is going to go check the South Shore at this point. That non-saving quit here means he's going to lift the rock and head towards the dam.
Yeah, that's, a variation. There are a lot that runners choose to go. Some choose to follow their most recent progression. Others decide to go as like, you know what, we still got all these other items that could be leading to progression. Why not?
Or instead, WesSideVandal is going to go home, get the 20 rupees, and then head down towards the South Shore. Wouldn't be surprised to see a play towards Escape either with that sword in hand, but WesSideVandal wants to go check the items here. We got ourselves the big key inside of Skull. We've got one item of the two. So each week, these players will be facing off against a different team in their division. Next week, Clown Parade gets the Wu-Tang Clan, and third strongest Mole will be facing off against Two Pearl, Two Furious.
This division is incredibly stacked with a lot of very strong teams. You mentioned the Wu-Tang Clan being one of the stronger ones, but really all of the teams have at least one very strong member, big killers of the communities.
And there's also people who are playing along for the fun of it, which is also nice to see here. A lot of great, interesting variety of teams here amongst the 64 teams that are in this league this season.
A huge increase, whereas Season 1 of the league only had 16. We have quadrupled in size.
So Shareen here heading through the dark world, going to go ahead and see what's on the bumper ledge and then head on towards the village of Outcasts as WesSideVandal heads in and deals with the mini Moldorms. Going to have to just be a little careful with 2.5 hearts. No bombs, so I think he was thinking about maybe throwing a bomb, but can't really do that with no bombs in your arsenal, which also may also impact WesSideVandal's next play after this, because sometimes you go towards the Ice Rod Cave. Kind of hard to do that when you have no bombs.
And unfortunately, looks like the mini Moldorms do not have bombs in their prize pack, as we're only getting rupees so far here in mini Moldorm Cave. But does luck out with a... Yeah.
Yep. So WesSideVandal is going to head on over towards the Ice Rod Cave as Shareen continues to explore through this dark world.
The important thing is that, with each team facing each other twice, within that week for that settings cannot be the same runner each time. So you're guaranteed to see 2 entirely different matchups and 2 different players from each team.
Only exception to that 2-player can't go twice in a week rule is obviously in week number 7, because you got to have somebody go twice in the co-op biz. We get the second sword, Master Sword for Shareen in Thieves Town, Pendant Thieves Town, for that matter.
We'll see if Shareen decides to go deeper in here. Being a pendant, that's always a little bit of a downside, as well as the fact that you don't have that hammer in case there is something locked in the big chest. Especially with that small key here in the first floor.
Yeah, you don't ever want to see that small key, especially in Pendant Thieves, and you don't want to see that either. So only one item, which was the Master Sword, which was a nice item to get, as Shareen does the Death Warp going back to start. So that's going to be it. We're going to check the first 4, but there are 3 items still in this dungeon. And I think Shareen's doing the safe play here, considering the fact that we have only seen 1 item. Don't take the risk that you're going to have an item in the big chest.
But we are getting the back of Escape here from WesSideVandal. We did get the early small key from Sanctuary, so at worst, there's at least 2 items back here. And that is exactly how many we have with the map in there. So the other 4 items are going to be in Dark Cross in the front of Escape.
Yeah, WesSideVandal's not going to change sit with the Dark Room at this stage, but may go towards the front of Escape at some point in time. It looks like he's starting at the Sanctuary, however.
Likely going to follow Shareen into the Dark World. The only portal available to us with those Titan's mitts, we would need a hammer to access the other Light World portals. And of course, we do not have logical access to Death Mountain at this point.
Yeah, that's correct. As WesSideVandal is going to head for the Dark World, Shareen is going to go ahead and do some digging. I dug up who the other pairing is going to be for this match between Clown Parade and Third Strongest Mole. We'll get that to you after we get done doing some digging around.
1 to 30 digs for this item in the dig game. Guaranteed to get it. It's being a little bit stingy today, but Shareen is not going to say no to those rupees. We still have
a fire rod pickup for Shareen. That now makes Skull Woods completable.
It does, and I imagine that originally he was thinking, going to go and pick up the Smith, but no. I am mistaken. I thought he was going to go back and complete Skull Woods, but is going to go and continue the Dark World loop, but did not pick up the Smith.
I think the idea right at this point is that he wants to go right to Hype Cave, do a save and quit, and then head on over to Skull Woods afterwards.
Not a bad bit of routing. I do know that we saw one item, a big 20 in Skull Woods. I do not know if we saw the other item.
I want to say no at this stage. And I believe the one item that we saw was in the big key location. As we get the Hype Cave check here from Shareen, 5 quick items. We get a piece of heart for the first of the items. And then we get ourselves 3 bombs. Hey, we now have a tempered sword. That's going to make Mothula a whole lot easier when we go back into Skull Woods.
But nothing else progression-wise. So we're looking at all of those rest of those Sphere Zeros checks. We've got Sahasrara, we've got Eastern Palace, we've got Agena, we have access to Zora, we've got one more item in the back of Skull Woods, and we have the front of Escape.
Yep, and Shareen's going to go ahead and check the back here. It's going to get them mapped in the 2, what we'd call junk-filled items. Now, Shareen is that kind of player who might just opt to go ahead and go towards Dark Cross, especially with that fire rod in hand, because there is still a possibility that the lamp could be in Dark Cross.
Yeah, with that fire rod, accessing Dark Cross from the front would be in logic. It's not actually... I mean, it's a moot point since you can get it from either direction. It's not actually in logic to access it from this direction, but it's absolutely doable. Torches along the way to go find that sneaky Hera.
You know, Shareen is spending a little extra time picking up some rupees on the way with the idea, hey, Zora still could be on the table at some point in time. So as Shareen makes his way over towards the Dark Cross, the other match in this pairing here between Clown Parade and Third Strongest Mole is going to be Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern. As we have bombs inside of that chest, it's going to be Pretty Wong versus Virtual Cat. That's going to be Thursday, 1 o'clock Eastern.
Shareen starting from Link's house. This might be Front of Escape, might be Sahasrara, might be doing South Shore checks, but it looks like it is going to be Front of Escape, as well as the Uncle checks.
Yeah, at this point in time, you know this is going to be 5 items to use, so you might as well at least go ahead and see what is around us. WesSideVandal takes the Death Warp himself, goes back to the start, and we'll go ahead and explore the remainder of the western section of the Dark World. There's our lamp.
All right, that is Death Mountain access. Only 2 accessible items at this point. We'd love to see a mirror or a hook shot to put more of the mountain into logic. See what other treasures Escape has. The lamp with Death Mountain access also puts at least 1 more chest in logic in Eastern, so raises the possibility of all the items being obtainable there. However, there is always a chance that the last item is bow-locked on the Armos Knights.
Game can be very, very sneaky when it decides it wants to do that.
WesSide heading his way to the dig game, going to get the same number of digs for that same fire rod reward.
And WesSideVandal may decide to go back towards Skullwoods, but probably will head over towards the Hype Cave once again. The wealth of the amount of items is worth it heading on back over towards the Hype Cave versus going into Skullwoods for what would be one item at this stage.
Boomerang chest only giving us 3 bombs. One more chest left here in Escape. And it looks like WesSide is going to go and pick up the Smith to complete his Dark World loop. And then once he saves and quits back to the Light World, we'll be able to turn that in. Tempered Sword is a bit of overkill for the Ball and Chain Guard. Makes a nice quick death, though.
And we get ourselves a piece of heart, so nothing inside of Hyrule Castle. A little bit of health, but otherwise, the biggest thing is the lamp that the uncle had.
If you are a runner who likes to follow spheres for their logic, that would suggest that your next progression is going to either be on that smith that was accessed via the Titan's Mitts, or on that fire rod. And Shareen is going to go and do the South Shore checks. We'll likely route this in with a fake flipper to check those flipper checks, as well as Zora. I'm going to get all the money he needs out of Mini Moldorm Cave.
So WesSideVandal is about to pick up the Tempered Sword and coming up in just a moment. And while we're going through a little bit of a downtime here for both of these runners, since they're going to check things we've already seen before, we can give you the entire Lake Hylia division schedule here. Coming up tomorrow is the first match between Pug Trio and Yu-Tang Clan. Winnie Words versus Apathy Duck. That's tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Eastern. Two Pearls, Two Furious versus the Longshots. Their first match is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Trinex versus Tyler. And then we have the Immortals versus 16-Bit Nerds coming up Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Hula Ninja versus Ikir. Clown Parade, Third Strongest Mold. Their second match between each other is going to be Thursday, 1 o'clock. Pretty Wong versus Virtua Cat. The Immortal 16-Bit Nerds, their second match features Duke Firebird versus Floyd 44. That's Friday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And Two Pearl, Two Furious versus the Longshots. Their second match is Saturday night, 9 o'clock Eastern. Aussie 28 versus Zelda Fan 18657. Pug Trio Yu-Tang Clan, they got to schedule their second match here. That would be the 8th of the 8 matches that still need to get done. WesSideVandal, while we've mentioned all that, has turned in the Breadsmith. What does he have?
In exchange for a long walk and 10 rupees, we get Kata Berta.
That's a nice safety.
Nice safety. Doesn't put anything else into logic. Could be used for Spike Cave if we find a hammer. But if we find a hammer, we'll have more important checks to do. And I think from this routing, WesSideVandal is going to go back into the Dark World. We'll see about the back of Skullwoods now.
Yeah, I think he's going to go check the back of Skullwoods at this stage. Shareen with 503 rupees about to go check the Zora region.
That was in logic as soon as we found that first glove from the Thieves' Hideout. Going to do a fake flipper setup down here, using the bomb setup to damage boost themselves into the screen transition. We'll also get our first look at... Oh, no, I thought we were going to get a look at Lake Hylia Island, but not yet. Going straight to the Zora area.
Why would runners in the Lake Hylia division want to stay in Lake Hylia longer than they need to?
That's very true. I'm sure they're very familiar with their own home base. And really, without flippers and mirror, that item isn't in logic.
Well, speaking of items that are not in logic, hello.
That's a lovely find there. If we find the flippers on Zora, that does put the hookshot into logic and opens up all of East and Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, but even if it isn't at this stage, you are going to head up to the mountain as one of your next checks, because that is a world of items you can find as WesSideVandal getting the 20 rupee, and thankfully is going to go ahead and bomb open this wall. I was hoping that he would remember that he does not have any magic, so therefore if he wants to continue to the final section of Skull Woods, he needs to pick this up. Zora has a heart container.
Not our answer for logic. WesSideVandal gonna go and take a ride to the front with that wall master.
And Shareen is going to go up the mountain at this point. I don't see Shareen doing anything else but going up the mountain. There's just way too many items to find up here.
Absolutely. There's the 2 in logic on the Old Man and Inside Spectacle Rock. Another 8 on East Death Mountain via the hookshot. And then another 6 in Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny Cave on Dark Death Mountain.
And then what after that? Well, we will find out. Obviously, getting the flippers will put some of this stuff into logic, but who knows? The seed could be really, really weird to all of us.
WesSideVandal picking up some extra hearts and magic. Doesn't hurt to go around in there, and going to take care of the Gibdos and the torches. Sadly does not have the lamp from the Uncle Chest, but a lucky magic drop from the Gibdos makes this much friendlier.
Yeah, unfortunately, he decided to pick that up when he did. Now, it may have been a case of him just thinking it wasn't going to be there by the time he walked back, but if it was still going to be back there at that stage, it would have given him a little more magic to work with coming up in just a few moments when he faces off against Zora. Or not Zora, when he faces off against Mothula.
You know what? Sometimes Zora really is the most final boss. But we are up against Mothula.
Tempered Sword makes this an easier fight. Only needs to get 4 non-hit into Spike's hits onto him, but it's going to have to be careful. Does pull out his potion down to 1 heart. Uses the potion. Good job. Trying to get him away from the spikes. There we go. 1 more swing. That's it. And Mothula is down. And to get the second item, which is just a 20 rupees, so the Fire Rod doesn't open anything there. The question is, what does it open?
Well, it might just be, one of those things that we needed to complete the seed and didn't lead to any progression. The logical checks on Death Mountain didn't lead to anything. There was just rupees and a heart container from the old man, but we'll see what's in Paradox Cave.
We have ourselves a mirror.
Mirror, that is fantastic to see. May or may not be required with Swamp Palace being independent, but it's always nice to find.
Well, the big thing about that mirror is, given its location, that hammer would not open up the logical pathway to the stuff on the right-hand side, so we definitely need to find the flippers to get to the hook shot, to get to the mirror in this logic chain.
That's absolutely true. I'm thinking right now at this point, they must be in the eastern area or on Agina. That's pretty much all we have left.
WesSideVandal looking at the map. As Shareen heading into the Dark World through the South Portal. Has perfect sense to go through the South Portal at this point. You don't have the hammer to open up the Turtle Rock Portal. Pulls out the hook shot. And WesSideVandal pulls up the purple chest and is going to go ahead and take that by way of a saving quit. If you're looking at early checks that we haven't seen so far, we still have the 3 behind Sahasrara, and we have whatever is in Eastern.
As well as Agina. And a couple people in chat pointed out.
Hammer!
Oh. And a cape. couple people have pointed out that with that lamp from Uncle, as well as the swords, Aghanim is in logic, which would give us logical access to the West Dark World. All right, but we are logic locked behind flippers, and they are not in the purple chest today. But we will get the Agena check from WesSideVandal.
As we find out that Ether is going to be the medallion required to get into Turtle Rock this evening. So we get the Agena check over here on WesSideVandal. We get the hookshot check here from Shareen. So far, a piece of heart, 10 arrows, as you just said as well. 20 rupees and another piece of heart. And what do we have at Agena?
Giving an extra bomb to our desert cowboy, only a piece of heart.
So the next progression, you know what? Next progression doesn't necessarily have to be behind Sahashala or Eastern.
No, that's right. It could very well be behind Agena. Or behind Aghanim, rather.
Well, you had the right letters.
Yeah. Just had to go and add that on to the end. To say I was thinking, we get an early big key in Tower of Hera. We'll see if Shareen goes for a Hera pot setup.
And it does look like that's exactly what he's doing as he lines himself up against the blocks. Does a couple of spins here, lays down a bomb, trying to blow himself into that little square that'll allow him to hook shot. Double checks his positioning by way of his menu. Sees that he's got the right position based on the right side of that menu, lining up with the right side of that chest. Pulls it off. There's the Hera pot right there.
Nice shortcut to the top of the tower. Gonna toggle the star switch and drop right down to the big chest.
And inside the big chest, we have a compass.
Alright, we have a piece of heart as the first item in Tower of Hera. We'll see if Moldorm drops the second item, or if it is the small key and that second item is locked in the basement.
So WesSideVandal is going to be checking the back here of escape. Gonna get the couple of we'll get the heart and the piece of heart here. As Shareen faces off against everybody's favorite worm, Moldorm. And that's why he's everyone's favorite.
Alright, round 2 against Moldorm.
Yep, Shareen coming back into the arena. And Moldorm wanted to say hello once again, but this time Shareen says no. Gets 2 swings onto him, throws around the swing now. The spin gets him taken care of. And does he drop a key? Yes, he does. The basement has an item, and that was for a green pendant.
And that is another item available out of Tower of Hera. So we'll see. I imagine if the basement doesn't lead to anything spectacular, I could see Shareen taking that hammer, going through the Dark World, checking Pyramid, mirroring to Eastern, turning in the green pendant, doing Sasha, Eastern, and all that lovely stuff.
And so Shareen going into the Dark World once again.
Leaving that item in the basement of Hera.
Leaving the item behind the basement, as WesSideVandal was thinking about doing a death warp, but has opted to just do a save and quit. Shareen going into Spiral Cave.
You have any idea why it's called Spiral Cave, Rick?
I have reasons. It's because it can take you around and around, and where it stops, well, we don't know what's in that chest below. It could be something good. We know it's not going to be the flippers.
Also tends to send runners running around in circles. But only a fire shield. But we are finally getting our Sahashala Eastern check.
Yep. So there's a pretty good chance that there could be something coming up here in the next 5 checks here for Westside Vandal, or 6 checks, depending on how things go inside of Eastern Palace. In the first check we get, there's the boots, there's the flippers, so that now attaches everything back together. And
That is
now
a
the boot
fantastic pair of items.
definitely will open up some doors to this seed. We can go fast. Those flippers will get Westside Vandal to the hook shop.
See where Westside Vandal decides to go first. Looks like he is going to do flippers checks rather than boots checks first. We do have access to the Titan's Mitts, so King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks would both be available from a Sanctuary start.
We get to see what's on the Lake Hylia Island, and it's just a piece of heart as Shareen goes back into Skull Woods. We'll go ahead and get this crystal to nod things up 1 crystal apiece here in this week 1 match between Clown Parade and Third Strongest Mole.
We are going to get a man under the bridge check. We'll see what he's holding today.
And the hobo has 50 rupees.
Money no longer an issue in the seed.
Absolutely. So WesSideVandal's Vandal's going to head on over, and we'll soon have the hook shot, which will put everything on the mountain into logic for him. So obviously we do have to sit here and wonder, what was in the basement that Shareen left behind? Is it a junk item, or is it going to be something that is required?
Well, other things that we're looking for this seed is obviously that ether medallion for Turtle Rock, as well as the ice rod, Cane of Samaria. We still need a bow. We still need the flute for Mire access.
And whatever medallion is required to get into Misery Mire as well. We get ourselves the hookshot for Westside Vandal, throws the bottle in, and what do we get for a free refill? Oh, jeez, it's just a bee.
It was a good bee, though. It was the best bee. Shareen with a very nice Mothula fight.
I'm not sure Westside Vandal agrees with you.
That is the first crystal for Shareen.
Shareen now picking up crystal number 1. Once again, nods things up at 1 apiece. Shareen, also with the green pendant in hand, could opt to turn that in at any point in time. Probably would like to see the bow before venturing over towards the eastern area.
Chose not to mirror out of Skull Woods, was walking out, suggests that they're likely heading down back towards Village of Outcasts. They had already checked Bumper Ledge earlier, but maybe checking Graveyard Ledge as one of their first mirror checks.
And speaking of checks in that vicinity, Westside Vandal is about to go check and see what is inside the Bonk Rocks. And there's the Cane of Samaria for Westside Vandal.
That is a fantastic find.
It's not a find that does anything immediately here for Westside Vandal, but it's good having that in your arsenal for when we do have the items that would get us into dungeons in that direction.
So, Rick, if
Yes?
the basement Hera item is ether, what do you think about a dip into Turtle Rock for Westside Vandal?
It's plausible. We've seen many times when Ice Rod has popped into Turtle Rock. It's not a bad idea to check it. I mean, while you're up there on the mountain clearing everything else out.
Gonna have access to Turtle Rock. That's 5 items, and the other Death Mountain checks give you the mirror, so that's a 6th item in Mimic Cave. We're looking for a lot of other items for Go Mode, so I don't think that's a terrible choice. Still absolutely need that flute and that bow.
Interesting decision here for Shareen. Now, we made a mention earlier that Shareen came out of here after only finding one item in here, and it was a possibility of I don't want to go any deeper without the hammer, only picking up one item. And that almost seems to be what the case is here, considering the fact that he's back after getting the hammer on Death Mountain.
Yep, got the 3 items guaranteed back here. See if the waiting for the hammer was worth it or not, as well as potentially a second pendant.
I would like to point out that we have access. Shareen doesn't at this point because he still has to get the flippers, but we know where they are. The pedestal could very well come into play.
Yeah, with mirror, hammer, hookshot, and flipper, Swamp Palace is available.
Naturally, WesSideVandal still has to get the hammer. That's in Super Bunny Cave. He'll get that shortly. Shareen has to get the flippers. That is in the back of Sahasralas. And we'll know Shareen will get that at some point in time.
Absolutely. Shareen probably will be a little bit miffed about not so much about the flippers, because logic breaking them gave him lots of progression, but rather those boots.
We're guaranteed an item in the chest now, in the big chest.
All right, so it was absolutely worth waiting for that hammer to do the back of Thieves Town.
And just bear in mind that Shareen does not have access to Swamp Palace at this point. Still has to get the flippers. We can't get into Swamp Palace without those flippers.
Nope, no amount of fake flipper shenanigans will get you through that first dam entrance.
So technically, this is the only dungeon that Shareen can defeat. Now, obviously, he can defeat Ice Palace, but of course, that would be a sequence break at this stage.
And doesn't appear to want to go and dip into Pod without that bow.
Oh!
That changes now. Can full clear Pod and Eastern with that bow.
More importantly, that gets Shareen over towards the Eastern, where the flippers and the boots are.
Now, for WesSideVandal, that doesn't necessarily mean he needs to go back into Thieves Town for that bow. There is a second bow out there, which could be inside Turtle Rock, could be in the basement of Hera, or elsewhere.
You kidding me? We know how this game's going to work out. It's going to put the second bow behind the first bow, because that's what the game always seems like it wants to do.
That's true, but the possibility's out there, and we like to keep our options open.
Absolutely. Just seems like anytime I play this thing, it decides it wants to throw the bow behind the bow, so who knows? Like, you're totally right. We could see WesSideVandal funding the other bow to make it their first bow.
Gets the information about the Ether Medallion as Shareen is on script for Blind. Takes him out to get his second pendant as well as 10 arrows.
As WesSideVandal is going to go here into Spiral Cave, has not decided to pop into Pendant Hera at this stage. And WesSideVandal is going to do the faster version of the Spiral Cave.
Feels much better, except when you accidentally run into that shocking Bari.
And Shareen is opting to do the Brett Smith chain at this point here, so we will get the same information that we saw from WesSideVandal, except for we will get to do the hammer pegs for Shareen and Clown Parade. WesSideVandal about his options.
Was thinking about the mountain cave to go and complete Hera, but I think has the idea that, hey, with this hammer, I've got a lot of nice checks to go for.
And Shareen popping into the hammer pegs, finding just a single rupee.
That hammer also gives us access to check the powder, which Shareen may be doing. She also has access with the mirror. We'll see what order she decides to do that. He decides to do that.
Yep. Shareen, definitely a very veteran of a runner here. We mentioned the stats early on. Shareen actually had a 9-race SRL win streak heading into the weekly open back on Sunday, and ended up finishing in 9th, which ended that streak. Shareen is for real when it comes to some of these races.
All right, getting this powder check. Powder was an early item in Kakariko in the well along with those Titan's mitts.
And just a piece of heart, but good to get that out of the way. As WesSideVandal is going to go check Graveyard Ledge and probably finish off the check with King's Tomb.
Shareen gonna go and take the purple chest on a bit of a tour to check Cave south of Grove with the mirror. WesSideVandal with those flippers could then combo a catfish check.
WesSideVandal with 7 bombs decides to pick up the bombs as Shareen with the purple chest in hand. This is going to give us another check that we did not see from WesSideVandal earlier by way of Cave 45.
And we get the 10-pack of Uncle Bombs in there. WesSideVandal setting up his mirror location to check the King's Tomb. And today, the king was buried with $5.
Such a cheap ceremony.
Well, you know what? He invested in his kingdom. That castle couldn't have been cheap.
That's a good way of putting it.
But we do see WesSideVandal heading over towards Catfish, letting out that bee and probably going to refill on potions along the way. No, Graveyard Ledge was 3 bombs. Shareen is going to go and get the information that Agina was not much of anything.
And as WesSideVandal checks Catfish, a new check to us. Be sure to follow both of these runners as we move throughout this league. And WesSideVandal finding 20 rupees and says no to it.
Absolutely. Be sure to follow these runners. As we said, there are 64 teams in the match. Each team plays twice every week. That's 64 matches a week. As much as we'd love to broadcast them all, we will not be able to. So the best way to ensure to follow your favorite team is to follow the runners on that team.
And there's WesSideVandal going to be purchasing some potions right now. Shareen making his way over towards Eastern and the Palace of Darkness. We'll have the flippers soon. We'll have the boots soon. And we will also get to see what the green pendant leads us to in just a few moments.
Plenty of money for Kiki. And WesSideVandal is... Didn't he already do Zora?
He looks like he is heading for the portal.
This might be a nice palace play.
This might be a nice palace play. And definitely, if you want to get more information about the league, you can just go visit ALTTPRleague.com, which will have a list of all the 100 plus runners that are going to be in the league this time around. 192 to be exact. There's the boots. Bunks into the wall.
Yeah, Shareen not happy that those boots were available so early.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of a displeasure about the, hey, look, I could have had these maybe a half of an hour ago. Yikes. Anyways, West Side Vandals inside Ice Palace.
Our first check inside House Palace is a piece apart for the first of the 3 items. Shareen did turn in that green pendant, which was 10 arrows, and is mirroring to do Eastern first. See what other Sphere Zero items may have been available.
Yeah, but at least this play feels a whole lot better when you can actually complete the dungeon.
Absolutely. You got your fire source, it's all in logic. You got the bow from Thieves' Town. But we have to go a little bit deeper for the first item, as it's just a compass.
And the reason why Shareen probably feels behind is the fact that the bow was deeper inside of Thieves' Town. You gotta wonder when you find the bow in that position whether or not your opponent went deeper into that dungeon. And the same thing in regarding the boots where they were as well. So we find 50 rupees, the first of the 3 items inside of Eastern.
Especially knowing that that bow could have been available on the first dip in. Although there was an item in the hammer chest, the hammer item was not really that required.
Yeah, it does put into a sense of panic when you do go in there without the hammer. But, it's one of those cases where you just worry that your other opponent here, you start to think, what has your opponent done differently? As we see Westside Vandal trying to set up for the Ice Palace bomb jump and does pull it off on the second try.
Nicely done. Waiting for the fire bar before hookshotting across. We do have a vanilla big key in Eastern. Almost gets the full strike for the Pen Gators.
Yeah, just a little too high and couldn't get all of them in the first swing. As Westside Vandal continues to search through this Ice Palace, hoping to find something that the Fire Rod leads to, because we hadn't seen anything beforehand.
Once again, we're still looking for an Ether Medallion, an Ice Rod, and a Flute, and potentially another medallion required for.
Although the longer we go into the sea, the greater the possibility that we could see such a medallion be required for both dungeons. We saw the third item, it's just bombs, so there's nothing inside of this Eastern Palace, but Shareen does feel a little bit better being able to complete this dungeon. We'll do Palace of Darkness once after we're done, as Westside Vandals backtracking to get to the iced tea room.
Who loves ice physics, anti-fairies, and fire bars? Not me.
You notice I said nothing, right?
Alright, Shareen into the Armos fight as we get the mat from Ice Tea. It looks like the rest of our items are either going to be on Cold Stare on the right side. Got the quick kill for his second crystal. All right.
Yep, and now so Shareen will head into the Palace of Darkness to check to see maybe what this bow will lead to over here.
Got 5 items in pod. They could be good, could be garbage. We'll see if that bow is required to go deeper in there, and it was indeed. If you went in here without the bow, you would not be able to go far in without logic.
Logic hurts my brain.
I love logic. Like that small key in the big key chest. What does that mean? It means that you needed a small key to get that small key.
Shareen pulling out the bow with 6 arrows remaining. Takes care of it pretty well. Pulls up the other 5 arrows that are in here. We get our first medallion, and that is the bombos.
It's always the case that if you go into Ice Palace with the fire rod, you'll find bombos. If you go in with the bombos, you'll find fire rod. It's just the way that it works. It's not logic. It's just the rando being rando.
WesSideVandal here heading and checking the big chest. And the big chest is a compass. So I believe that means that Cold Stare will have the final item. Now, that Bombos is actually a saving grace for WesSideVandal. Look at his magic meter.
Absolutely. He'll have just enough magic to cast Bombos and remove Cold Stare Shell. If he only had Fire Rod, he would have to find a way to refill his magic because it requires a full magic bar for Fire Rod shots to break the shell.
I will point out that he did purchase a blue potion, so it wasn't that great of a danger. I just realized that after making this statement, but at least this gives him a few more options. And so he pulls out the fire rod. Gets a nice triple right there. Gonna have to be careful. Now, obviously, he's gonna try to wait this out as long as he can to get the maximum health replenishment, but he's gonna have to use that now. He does. There we go. As we see Shareen lining up for the hammer jump here in the Palace of Darkness.
A double frame perfect bomb jump doesn't quite get it. WesSideVandal down to his last puck.
He's gonna have to spend that key now. Gets 10 arrows from Cold Stare, but that Bombos, we don't know if it's going to be essential just yet. We get ourselves the single arrow, just a little removed of its vanilla location.
But that is Ice Palace for Crystal completed for WesSideVandal.
And the longer we're going through here, the more it's becoming likely that we're going to need to see WesSideVandal make it back into Thieves' Town to get that bow. But that's not where WesSideVandal's going to next. I have a feeling this direction is towards Swamp Palace.
Swamp Palace, another very nice item-dense location. Slow to full clear, but not as bad when you have the boots and hookshot. Shareen goes and makes his way to the back of Pod for Helmasaur. But this is actually going to be, looks like, following Shareen towards the Pod and Eastern area. With a quick stop at the pyramid first.
Pyramid check here for WesSideVandal. Just bombs.
Yep, not required. So WesSideVandal looks like they're going to go and continue on to Pod and Eastern. Without the bow, they won't be able to finish the dungeon, but could potentially sequence break it if they hadn't used their potion. There is another sequence break involving some frame perfect inputs to get the red mimics off screen, but considering what we've seen so far in Pod from Shareen, doesn't look like it's worthwhile. Nicely through the Terrapin room and on to the final teleport to make his way to Helmasaur. Requires 17 hammer hits to remove the shell. If you hold your sword out, it prevents you from bonking into the shell to take damage. But if you're really skilled, you can do it without the sword and get those hammer hits in fast as light. I'm not sure how a hammer casts lightly. Maybe it's Thor's hammer, but Shareen takes down Helmasaur, about to grab their third crystal.
Did we not see anything from the bow?
The bow led to nothing but our required crystals. Not even 5/6 crystals. Our other 5/6 crystal being on Meyer.
And WesSideVandal's going into Eastern Palace, which is unfortunate here. It's about to come up extremely empty in a destination that we know we need to get into Thieves Town at this point, unless the other bow is in Swamp. And that's the only other possibility at this stage because we've explored everything else.
We still have the basement of Hera. As well
all we
as
have
Lake
left,
Cave.
all we have left is Swamp Palace. we're gonna just 86 the Hera chest.
Our other fetch quests have not appeared. No sign of the book or the mushroom. Powder has been turned in. Shovel has been turned in. Shovel was quite early and led to our moon pearl. We turned in the green pendant already for a pile of sticks. We'll have to see if Shareen decides to dip Ice Palace or Swamp Palace next. Obviously, Ice Palace being the crystal is a little more palatable, but there is all those extra items in Swamp Palace, despite it being a pendant. It also would give Shareen his third pendant for potential pedestal play.
So Shareen going to check Catfish. We know that's not going to be anything here. Where do you think that second bow is going to be?
I'm thinking Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well.
It would be great for WesSideVandal if it was somewhere else in the regular dungeons or an overworld location, but right now, considering it was available super early in Thieves Town and it didn't lead to anything except for the crystals, I don't think that our other bow is going to be easily accessible.
By the way, here's some good news for WesSideVandal.
He did get all 3 items out of Eastern.
Well, the other thing is that if he did decide to go into the Palace of Darkness, and he already went into the Palace of Darkness, the fact that the bow block was early on, it prevents him from digging into that dungeon unnecessarily.
And could potentially finish that dungeon in a go mode state later.
So now I think this is the Swamp Palace play that I thought he was going to be making just a few moments ago.
Yeah, that's really the next best play for him. The only other thing would be that Tower of Hera play. He never dipped inside of there. But No is going to go and do Cave South of Grove first. Anytime you're going to call a runner to do a play ahead of time, they'll turn around and make a fool of you, and that's why they're racing. We are still looking for the flute, potentially the book. The book could lead to the flute if the flute's in Desert Palace. And we need the Ether Medallion for sure, and maybe Quake if Misery Mire requires it. The Cane of Samaria was in Bonk Rocks that WesSideVandal has already obtained. And yes, we will need that ice rod.
So at the hour mark here, this is the first match of the Lake Hylia division of the Link to the Past Randomizer League Season number 2. We have Shareen representing the Clown Parade. On the left, we have WesSideVandal representing the third strongest mole. On your right,
Again, week 1 of the Season 2 of the league. 64 teams in total. Going to go through 7 weeks of team versus team play within their divisions. Different mode every week. At the end of the 7 weeks, the top 3 teams in each division move on to the playoffs, with the first place team getting a bye to the second round. The other members of Third Strongest Mold are cheering on WesSideVandal in chat. That would be Drunk Future Self and Virtua Cat. And Shareen's teammates giving him all... Oh my gosh! Just as I see that, WesSideVandal finds the second bow in Swamp.
wow. And that is a huge find for WesSideVandal. However, what else was in that Swamp Palace? Well, we don't know. There could still be something in there.
Absolutely. You know, that's 1 of 6 items. We're still missing 3 more for Go mode. That's absolutely huge for WesSideVandal, but going to be spending a little bit of time clearing out this pod and Eastern for not a whole lot of value other than the crystals.
Yeah, and it makes sense at this point in time. You want to definitely go clear off these 2 crystal dungeons that you have access to. Once again, we don't know where the other items are going to be. We are still missing at least 2 items, 3 items rather, for Go mode at this stage. This could still be a topsy-turvy seed.
Absolutely. That item left over in Basement Hera could very well be the book. And we could have, you know, a flute on one of the tablets. We could have something in desert. Or, gosh forbid, that stone pedestal type thing in the Lost Woods. Shareen does get his Bombos medallion from Ice Palace. We'll see if that is potentially our minor entry.
So Shareen getting ready to face off against Cold Stare. We'll get to see whether or not Shareen can get him taken care of in the fast path here. As WesSideVandal continues to explore through this Palace of Darkness. 4 items, or now 3 items, still remain in here for him. But I will tell you what, if Shareen does go into Swamp Palace, I do not see Shareen noping out of there, because Shareen has 2/3 of the pendants already. Unless he finds something that opens up a lot.
The only thing I could see Shareen dipping out of Swamp early is if the flute was, for instance, in the compass chest.
And that makes sense, because that's one of those ones that do open a lot.
There you go, WesSideVandal getting that crystal switch hit.
And then
gets trapped by the stairs.
And then he gets bullied back downstairs. As Shareen now start to get the sanctuary. I have a feeling we're going to be checking our... Yeah, we're going to be checking our boots checks here. First with the King's Tomb to find the 5 rupees. And then over to Bonk Bronx to find the Cane of Samaria.
Do you think he'll go and head over to the library and grab that half magic?
That oh, that's a tough question at this stage. Given his current stature of having 12 hearts, he's got bottles if he needs to get potions. I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna spend the extra time picking up that half magic.
One thing he may do is check Lumberjack Ledge, as he did not check it at the beginning of the game. And with boots, that would be fully in logic and available for one of those missing items.
Yeah, and he's gonna check it right now. Because some runners do that philosophy. If I don't have everything I need to go up Agus Tower and claim this item, then why do I need to go in here and find out what it is super early? But now I have all the items. What is this item? Just a 20 rupee.
All right, so Shareen does have 2 checks left on Death Mountain, but has all the same items left in Swamp. I think that this will absolutely be a Swamp play for Shareen. Our Pyramid Fairy is locked until we can complete Misery Mire. Locked behind the flute and potentially another medallion.
And Shareen is making the swamp play. We'll have silver arrows, but what else is amongst the 6 items inside of this dungeon?
WesSideVandal going to go and take this opportunity to refill on fairies.
Makes a lot of sense, to get yourself the safety.
And having obtained all the rest, is making his way to the back to fight Helmasaur himself. We will be all eyes on Shareen. He will get his silver arrows in the first chest, but the remainder of chests have yet to be determined.
There's the silver arrows for Shareen.
The only other items, or only other item locations we have not yet seen in this seed would be Spike Cave and the basement of Hera.
What else do you think is in here, mind of me?
I'm hoping the flute is in here. The worst thing I think we could see would be the book. But I think even if we see the book, at that point, Shareen's not going to dip out and follow it to check Bombos or anything like that. He's just going to go continue, get his third pendant, then check Bombos, and follow that up with a Pedpole.
What's in the basement of Hera?
Ether.
Wow,
Absolutely.
You're still banking on that one?
I am absolutely banking on that one. It's either ether or it's some kind of junk item. Like the ice rod.
Oh my
It only
goodness.
opens up a one chest. It can't be that valuable.
I know! That would be disgusting. There's Quake.
All right. 66% chance that we can get into Mire once we find the flute.
Well then, all right, friends. Stay tuned. This one's not over with yet.
WesSideVandal getting their third crystal off of Helmasaur will be a quick mirror and run to the back of Eastern for crystal number 4 for them. We'll get the flooded chest soon from Shareen.
We're going to be knotted up on crystal counts, but the big question here is what is down here in Swamp? Big key. Map.
Shareen not going to go and check the big chest. Makes sense. Still has left side. We'll check big chest on the recheck.
Heart container. Yeah, I think that's exactly the reason. If he didn't get the map, he probably would have checked it, but getting the map pretty much now guarantees that there's an item on the left-hand side. Argus fight coming up here for Shareen. WesSideVandal will be facing off against the Armos in just a few moments.
Tempered Sword and the hook shot makes Armos a nice fight. Can defeat the puffs with spins. If you're super fancy, you can do some dash poke strats and clear out those puffs in no time, but it will be very hard on your fingers.
Swing and a miss there with the bow silver arrows, but there gets him on the second try. And red mail.
And that is the third pendant for Shareen. Still has 2 more items left in Swamp Palace. We'll be diving back in for those.
What's on the pedestal?
I would
Asai
love to see
Asai is not on the pedestal.
I want the flute to be on the pedestal, just to open up those books and make it feel really important. But it's probably something like the book.
Might it be?
Yeah.
I thought you wanted flute here in Swamp, rather.
Well, I wanted it here, but we're down to 1 item left, and it doesn't look like it's going to be. We got something blue in the big chest, but it wasn't the flute. As WesSideVandal takes out the Armos Knights for crystal number 4.
What if there's nothing on the pedestal?
I mean, that's a possibility, because we still have that basement of Hera, and we still have Spike Cave. Well, then we have Spike Cave.
There's something there!
There's something on Spike Cave. Okay, WesSideVandal starting from Sanctuary, not going back to Swamp. I imagine that this is going to be back into Thieves Town, maybe picking up that half magic.
That might be the idea at this point, and it looks like this could be a Thieves Town return. Shareen heading upstairs. 1 item remains here in this swamp. That quake could be important.
All right, left side swamp. Killer of Dreams.
Ooh, well, we're gonna have to wait this out just another 5 seconds.
Left side swamp.
Piece of
No!
Oh!
Well, chat, I hope you're happy, since Fred is insisting that there's nothing in the basement of Hera.
Who?
I'm sorry.
Did you just call me Fred?
I just did call you Fred. I'm sorry about that. I was just thinking about vanilla items, which are not possible anymore. Well, no, we could still have a vanilla ether medallion.
Looks like Shareen's heading very straight for the basement.
I thought there was nothing there.
There isn't!
All right. Chat, what do you guys think? What's in the basement of Hera?
Nothing!
You're not chat. You're here in the commentary booth with me.
Fine. NOTHIN. Enter.
Shareen taking the coffee break strat. He knows that he could have had this item, about 45 minutes ago. And WesSideVandal is picking up that half magic.
Yes, he is. And right, so Shareen going through this basement will pull out the handy dandy fire rod, lights up the 4 torches, and gets nothing!
You're right. It was nothing. It's something that opens up a single chest that's not available to us. We are still needing that ether medallion.
Ice Rod inside the Tower of Hera basement is absolutely cruel, and this siege should be sorry for what it's doing to our runners.
But on the other hand, Shareen knows that despite the fact that that ice rod is required, it's not his last item. He is still looking for other things. He still needs 2 things, in fact.
Oh,
okay,
hi!
Now that's cruel.
Hi,
That
literature! So... See, there was nothing in Hera basement. It was in Spike Cave. There we go.
And Shareen's starting at Link's house. Is this going to go be Bombos into desert? Refusing to pull that pedestal.
Yeah, he's now got 2 extra checks, which unfortunately, because of the way he did Spike Cave, meant that he was not going to go into the Ether Tablet. But now what if Ether Tablet has the item? Because now that's a one-off square for Shareen.
Absolutely, and that could be our vanilla ether medallion. It could be, or that flute that we require for Misery Mire. But we will have desert access. Desert will be completable regardless of anything else. And what does our Bombos tablet hold?
Ether!
Okay, that is Turtle Rock now, full clearable. We are looking for a flute. Flute could be here in Desert. It could be in Turtle Rock. Or it could be, requiring some pendants in the middle of Lost Woods.
Yeah, which we would fly the duck to freedom would be the literature or the inscription. As we go and bonk ourselves, Shareen definitely destroying the fantasy hopes and dreams of anyone who's got him on their fantasy roster.
Well, luckily he got the boots late, so he might not reach that threshold.
He bonked after getting the boots. Right after getting the boots.
Oh, luckily he does have the boots for Desert Palace.
And you need a bonk here. Scene, what are you doing to us?
Nice mirror strats to go and save some time getting over to the right-hand side. It is rare that you're going into Desert using the book this late in the season. And at 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 55 seconds, Shareen is in go mode, and Clown Parade has a nice advantage to potentially take the first point in the Lake Hylia division. I do find it funny that Shareen noped out immediately after getting that flute, realized, you know what, it's faster to go clear Desert once I get this flute activated.
Yes, that is correct. So don't forget, this is the first of 2 matches between this team this week. The second match between these 2 will feature Pretty Wong for Clown Parade and Virtua Cat for Third Strongest Mole. That's coming up Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. in the Central European time zone.
Shareen, having all the items in the dungeons, had cleared all of the pendant dungeons. I don't believe that there was anything other than that second bow in Thieves Town. There was nothing in Swamp Palace. There was the ice rod in the basement of Hera.
You had to do one of the pendant dungeons in order to get that first bow. Either Thieves Town or Swamp.
Oh, true.
And it was Ether for both dungeons.
All right, will we have a kind misery mire today with an early big key, or is it going to be buried deep inside, requiring a cutscene? Now that book was available as soon as we got the hammer from Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, your first cycle in, you could have had that too, because we also got a safety to go through Spike Cave.
WesSideVandal getting his first pendant as well as the silver arrows out of Thieves Town.
Because that hammer and that cape were side by side.
Yeah, that was a full kit for Spike Cave. They had the Titan's Mitts at that point. They had a bottle as well.
They sure did. WesSideVandal now has left Thieves Town. Is heading. Where are we heading? Are we heading back into Swamp? That looks like that is going to be the game plan. Also, Tower of Hera basement was required for that nothing.
That's true. The nothing in basement of Hera will be required.
For that beautiful, glorious, delicious ice rod.
Will be fired hopefully a minimum of 2 times, maximum of 4.
Shareen barely having enough magic to light the torches. To get the big key, and now we're off to face off against Vitreous with the silver arrows in hand. Not going to be a problem fight whatsoever for Shareen. We'll finish off Desert, head up to Turtle Rock, and then we can start talking about the beautiful search of GT, which should be real fun here for Shareen.
Yeah, WesSideVandal making their way into Swamp will grab the silver arrow. Oh no, I already grabbed the silver arrows. We'll get the Quake medallion eventually, which is not going to be needed this seed. This seed was a little bit of an interesting one. We had early Titan's Mitts and Moon Pearl, which led to a fire rod at the dig game, which gave us a bombos in Ice Palace, which was really nothing. Had boots and flippers in Sahasrah's closet. Flippers led to the hook shot. That was in the Waterfall Fairy. Gave us all of our East Death Mountain and Dark Death Mountain access. It gave us a mirror, a cape, a hammer. Didn't quite get spooky from Shareen. He's going to do it the intended way, bombing the wall and hitting the switch.
So, barring a comeback here from WesSideVandal, Clown Parade will take the temporary possession of first place in the Lake Hylia division with the 3 points here. The second match here for Lake Hylia division will be tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, as Pug Trio faces off against Yutang Clan. Weighty Words against Apathy Duck. That's 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific, midnight Central European time. And I think I have a channel assigned to that. I'll check that in just a few moments. But that's Vitreous right there for Shareen.
Crystal number 5. Going to be a quick mirror to the back of Desert to take out Landmolus. And just a reminder that there are 64 teams to follow in this league. There will not be any lack of action, so be sure to follow Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 through 6 to check out that league, as well as the ALTTPR league channels that will be broadcasting some matches.
Weighty Words, Apathy Duck tomorrow. I'm sorry, go ahead.
A little exclamation point schedule in the chat will get you the full restreaming schedule.
Absolutely. Apathy Duck, Weighty Words will be tomorrow. Speed Gaming 3 will be the channel for that match. The second of the Lake Hylia division. Finishing off Desert Palace is Shareen, WesSideVandal, going through a Swamp Palace that will unfortunately come up empty for him at this point.
The book that was in Spike Cave opened up the seed. The book gave us the ether from the Bombos tablet and opened up desert that gave us the flute.
And immediately squashed the hopes and dreams of anybody who was hoping for a pedestal seed, as Shareen now gets ready to fire 3 silver arrows. Gets a bonk into the wall to plate up his count. There's 1, there's 2, and that's 3. A beautiful Lammo fight.
Number 6, and then we hope for an advantageous key layout in Turtle Rock to make that clear as quick as possible.
Yeah, getting it so that you could skip Laser Bridge would be a really good setup here.
I think one of the saddest things about this seed is that, you could have just done 2 Death Mountain climbs, and that's it.
And that's something that is going to be interesting to find out from Shareen when we get him in here for a post-race conversation after we're done here, is how do you feel knowing that you could have had the book that opened up the last portion of this seed about at 45 minutes ago? I mean, we saw his dissatisfaction with finding the boots at 45 minutes in when he knew he could have had them at 15 minutes.
Yep. It was, as well as that ice rod. Could have grabbed the ice rod and the book right then and there. But a save and quit out of Hera prevented that. And just to be extra rude, the dead rocks are being dead rocks today.
Yeah, for certain. And for those of you who are looking for more ALTTPR League action, we do have 4 more races on tonight's docket that have restreams. We have 3 of them that are starting up right here at 8 o'clock.
That's right. We've got GFE versus Alhado on Speed Gaming, Megawatt versus RD Walsh on Speed Gaming 2, ETM versus Gloin on ALTTPR League 1, and then later tonight, in about an hour, will be Unknown Availability versus Karnath on Speed Gaming 3. Into Turtle Rock. Ideally, these first 3 chests will be a combination of 2 small keys and a big key.
Yeah, there's the big key right there. So, of the 7 weeks that we're doing here, Mind of Me, what will be your favorite week to watch as a spectator?
I am all cross keys. I love following the logic of entrances and the sequence breaks that are available by judicious key usage. How about yourself, Rick?
I think as a spectator, I'm interested in seeing what comes up in the mystery week in week number 4. Especially when you have to adapt as a runner going through it, because you don't know what you're getting into. There's certain hints that you might get from the seed, but there's certain hints that you might not get until later on. So week number 4 is going to be definitely interesting with the mystery. Now, as a runner, I'm kind of really looking forward to week number 7, the co-op all dungeons.
Exactly. That is a shared information co-op where the 2 runners will be in a voice call, sharing information about checks and finding out the best way to route that seed and cover as much information as possible. The Key Sanity spoiler pilot will be another version of co-op. We've had Key Sanity seeds before, we've had spoiler log seeds before, but this one's going to be a little bit different. One of the team members will be playing the seed, and the other one will be the pilot with a spoiler log, telling the runner where to go.
We do see WesSideVandal heading over towards the Tower of Hera. Now, this could be good news. Unfortunately, it's going to be a little too late in regards to his chances for this race. But it will be good to see him pick up the ice rod and then hopefully going into Spike Cave to get the book afterwards.
Absolutely. And Shareen is stealing the key. Since we got that early big key, no need to go back and use it. And likely no need to check Mimic Cave. We'll see if Shareen decides to skip the big chest. There could be a required small key in there.
Looks like he's opted not to take that gamble at this stage. Probably feels behind because of getting that book as late as he did. Doesn't want to take a gamble that could cost him another minute and a half later on. Do see some people talking about Crystallis Randomizer. We got a match coming up at 11 o'clock tonight in 3 hours over on Speed Gaming 1. And there's a small key. Laser bridge not required.
And Crystallis, they are getting near the finals of that tournament. WesSideVandal gonna get the bad news soon that there is likely either a item or a key on Moldorm.
He's going to be delayed that information by at least a few seconds here. Thankfully, had already activated the switch when he fell down, so therefore he only will go down 1 floor as opposed to 2.
Shareen making their way through the firebar maze. Will be just a quick run past that Guardian mini Helma and through the key door to Trinex.
So WesSideVandal is going to be getting the small key from Moldorm, and then probably will head downstairs to get the ice rod in just a few moments as Shareen gets ready to face off against Trinex.
With Tempered Sword, this shouldn't be too bad of a fight.
Ooh, thankfully he got that hit on Moldorm when he did, because a few seconds later, another second later, that Moldorm would have been pushing him around. Oh, gets a little bit of ice on the floor. Does Shareen?
So a really quality set of heads manages to do it in 2 shots each.
Stage number 1 done here for Shareen. A little early on the spin, so he couldn't get 2 hits on the Trinex, but takes care of him without much of an issue. And now as Shareen gets ready to go into Ganon's tower, Mind of Me. See, I get your name right. What are we about to play?
Well, Rick, with our 7 crystals, we need to go and climb Ganon's tower. There are 22 item locations where the big key is that's required to climb the tower, so get your guesses in chat. The game is going to be run across all of the league channels. It doesn't matter if you're the first person to guess or the last person to guess that same location. You'll get a little bit of points regardless, but the first person does get the most points. The game will end once Shareen enters that tower.
I've already put my guess into the chat, and it's going to be number 10. What is yours?
I always go for 15, which in standard routed takes us to the vanilla big key chest behind Ice Armos. But there's lots of routing strategies in Ganon's tower for the big key. We'll see which one Shareen opts with in just a few seconds.
And Shareen is going to go over towards the left-hand side, which recommends maybe a Dark Magician route. As WesSideVandal will get the ice rod out of here, we see a blue rupee on the torch.
We'll go pick up that small key under the pot and head up to the Stalthos room.
And good news here for WesSideVandal. Look where he is going.
Right into Spike Cave. We'll pick up the book leading to his Ether Medallion and Desert, which will give him the flute, and he will be in go mode as soon as he follows up those checks.
So we get 2 small keys here on the left-hand side inside of that Staphos room. Shareen now going into what we call the Hope Room. And WesSideVandal, get that rock good. Gets the book. I was worried that he was going to run out of life before he was going to be able to get that book, and that would have been really, really bad in this position.
That would have been so heartbreaking. Unfortunately, nothing in the Hope Room. Shareen is skipping Tile Room for the time being.
Yeah, he's about to go check the Bombos tablet, which is going to get him the ether. As Shareen gets ready to check chest number 8, 9, 10, and 11. Mind me what's inside.
Sorry about that, my stream is hiccuping. You'll have to confirm for me, right?
Bombs, arrows, piece of heart, and big key, number 11. This was rigged so I can get the points. But shoutouts to uninformed pleb who ended up getting the points here. And there's the ether pickup for WesSideVandal.
Just needs to make his way into desert to get that flute. I imagine that's going to follow up shortly.
He is going there right now, so WesSideVandal will be in go mode real soon. Just unfortunate here, kind of took a little bit longer to get to the major component of this seed, where Shareen was able to get it and then run away with this. But definitely a good showing here for WesSideVandal. Shareen opting to fall off the bridge here to give himself the invincibility frames to get through the cannons. And now it's on to the gauntlet. A whole lot of execution through 6 difficult rooms.
Absolutely. Increasing difficulty of enemies that have semi-random movement patterns, like to avoid your shots. You get conveyor belts and spikes and Demos and ISO-My.
And really, in honest here, the big changing moment was when Shareen popped back into Thieves' Town.
Yes.
Getting that bow was huge.
Getting that bow, clearing out Eastern Pod, even though they didn't lead to much, wasn't progression-wise, but that was the quick one. WesSideVandal took a little bit longer to get the bow. There was mention in chat about Shareen getting the fake flipper and getting the hookshot early. Didn't really lead to much. Could have been if Shareen chose to check Hera basement and Spike Cave at that point.
I mean, the fake flipper definitely helped out by getting himself on the right path in the initial thing. But the fact that WesSideVandal ended up going into Eastern and the Palace of Darkness without the bow, it just gave him automatic time that he was going to yield to Shareen, who one-cycled Eastern and the Palace of Darkness.
As well as that double dip into Swamp.
Absolutely. So Shareen here through the gauntlet, now on the 5th floor, just has to light 4 torches and then get himself upstairs.
Navigating the thin platforms, taking a strategic dump to get yourself right next to the torch.
Unfortunately, turned the wrong direction, but was able to get inside before everything closed up, as WesSideVandal is about to activate the flute to get him over to Misery Mire.
Last set of torches to light for Shareen before the Ganon fight. Leaving a couple of bombs behind for the mini-helmas.
Just giving them something that they can play with.
Very kind. I'm sure it's lonely up there.
We gotta keep listening to the tiles coming apart every so often.
Oh.
As Shareen takes a dump here against Moldorm. That would be another fall, and I know he doesn't want that to happen. And at this stage, an hour and 40, even though on paper you're the favored runner, you still gotta be thinking, where's your opponent at this stage?
Exactly. I'm sure Shareen did his research. He knows that WesSideVandal is capable of doing a seed in less than 2 hours, knows that could be anywhere. Your opponent could be taking on Ganon right now. You might see that dot done any second, and so any moment of time lost is another feeling of defeat. potential
Shareen,
defeat.
Shareen and Cloud Parade next week will be facing off against Yu-Tang Clan and against the Immortals in week 3, which is the Randomizer week. In week 4, the Mystery week will be facing off against the Long Shots. Has 2 Pearl, 2 Furious in week number 5. Week number 6, which will be that piloted spoiler stuff, will be against 16-bit nerds, and then we'll have to face off against Pug Trio, which is going to be an interesting week, given that that's going to be the co-op week.
Absolutely. But Shareen, having no issues with Ganon, is going to go and take on Ganon. Tempered Sword and Silvers. It'll be a fantastic fight. Looking at the third strongest mole for week 2, Ambrosia going to be facing off against 2 Pearl, 2 Furious. Then in week 3 for Randomizer, they'll be facing off against 16-bit nerds. Week 4 is going to be Pug Trio for the Mystery Seed. Week 5 Cross Keys is the Long Shot. Week 6 the Immortals. And week 7 for the All Dungeons Co-op, they get the Yu-Tang Clan.
So a lot of great weeks coming up here for both of these teams. Be sure to keep up with what's going on here in the league with that, as well as the other 7 divisions, as Shareen now gets ready to go up against Ganon stage number 3, getting ready to deal some silver arrow damage.
Ganon very polite with the teleports this year, and we do indeed have your one true weakness.
Yeah, the mirror. There's 2 of them right there. And we got another 2 hits coming right here for Shareen. And Clown Parade will take the 3 points as Shareen will claim victory over WesSideVandal here in this week 1 match.
And Shareen crosses the finish line into the Triforce room with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 45 seconds. Get some GGs in chat for Shareen representing Clown Parade.
And now all eyes will turn to Pretty Wong, who will be the representative for Clown Parade in their second of the week 1 matches to face off against looks to be the other member that they'll be facing off is Virtua Cat. And then once again, it's going to be Thursday, 1 o'clock Eastern.
We'll see if we can get Shareen in here for an interview to talk about that seed. One thing I'm not certain about, Rick, is are runners, is it advantageous for runners to finish if they're in second place rather than for...
Well, absolutely, because fantasy reasonings, you want to finish off a seed, because otherwise anybody who has you on the fantasy roster is going to be getting 0 points if you forfeit, because then otherwise you get no way to take a look at the stats. So it definitely is advantageous to end up finishing off a seed. So we're going to see WesSideVandal, definitely get your cheers in here for WesSideVandal going through this final portion of this game. And going to try to finish this thing out as we have Shareen coming in here to talk about this seed with us. GG's.
GG's and well played.
That was not enjoyable.
So, what to you was not enjoyable?
Usually when I get mitts for Dark World access, I try to full clear in any way I can. That's why I did a fake flipper the way I did. But once I got everything that was flipper locked, right? So I got that hook shot, I got the mirror, I got the hammer. I felt okay because on one hand I fake flippered and I had everything, but on the other hand, I'm gonna be completely double dipping outcasts, including Skull, including Thieves, including Smith Chain. And once I got to Sahasrah's Closet, I'm like, okay, this is garbage, because had I not, I was also thinking that because I have hook, hammer, and mirror, and they're all flippers locked, this means had I got my flippers, I would be in Swamp Palace right now. So I was thinking about that, and then once I got the flippers where they were, like 50 some minutes in, I just wasn't feeling good about it because I was double backing on all the checks and I was bootless and yeah.
We could tell that you were showing a little bit of frustration at that point as you decided to reward the pickup of the boots by bonking into the back of Sahasrahla. That was pretty much just that frustration setting in. Like, I could have had this a whole lot sooner.
Yeah, I think the one decision I made upon going to the Dark World 5 minutes in was a big one, because had I not gone straight to the Dark World, I probably would have done Sahasrahla before entering the Dark World, and opening up that sequence. And then, of course, you have a bow in Thieves and a bow in Swamp, so Thieves is not even, a big deal.
So you'd mentioned that you wanted to be quite thorough with those checks. When you got your sequence break access to the hookshot and clearing East and Dark Death Mountain, was it a decision that, you felt that, okay, well, obviously this hookshot led to the hammer in the mirror. There can't be any further progression, which led you to dip out of Hera? Or was it more just that if it's something important, I have to come back up here later for Turtle Rock anyway?
Well, the thing was, once I got all of that stuff, I already spent a fair bit of time in Hera, which was Green Pendant. I had Spike Cave, so I felt like I could come back for it and loop them together. And I also felt that since I sequence broke 3 big pieces, one, my flippers are out there, which I don't really care about. So I wasn't really caring so much about logic. And 2, I wanted to capitalize on reclearing what I did, because I said, hey, if you come out here, if you come to Outcasts without your hammer, without your mirror, you can't do a fair bit of checks. And then when I found the flippers, that just threw all my dreams down the drain, because it means you could have had your hammer before entering. Well, the hammer was the hammer mitts locked? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was in Super Bunny.
Right, but you can get your hammer before entering any sequence of the Dark World. That's what. The only thing is you might not have had enough rupees to get your hook to go to Zora. So when you did get your hook, you would be orphaning that. But other than that, you would have got everything else.
How did you feel when you went back up the mountain and got into the Tower of Hera basement and there was the ice rod?
I was actually kind of relieved, because when I was down to 3 locations, I had Pedestal, I had Spike Cave, and I had Hera Basement. And when I found Ice Rod in Hera Basement, I was ecstatic, because I'm like, I'm down to 3 locations, and I got an item that doesn't open anything. So basically, it's just a free Ice Rod at this point. And then when I got the book, once again, I just had to follow the chain that I had. But being where the Ice Rod was, being where the bows were, I feel like this was a little tough. There definitely was a god route if you stick to logic a little bit more. But I mean, I cleared basically everything in 140. I'm pretty happy with how it went overall. I did all 10 dungeons, so.
That's not too bad a time for 10 dungeons indeed. And you get to get the first points for your team, Team Clown Parade, for a temporary first place in the Lake Hylia division. How does that feel?
Well, we'll take first for as long as we can, because this is a tough division. So we'll take the points.
Yeah, so I did want to just draw upon that for just a few moments. What was your thoughts when you saw that you were in the same division with a few of the other runners that ended up being in this division, like Gandhi and Emo Saru and associated other runners?
I think it's interesting because the format of the playoffs seeds 3 teams from the divisions in there. So having, 4 or 5 and more teams competing for that title, it's just going to make the regular season even better. And when I saw the schedule, I was even more excited, because, seeing the matchups we play each team, I feel like, every week is going to be an exciting week.
And you get to finish off the schedule against Andy's team, Pug Trio, in week 7 in the co-op.
Yeah, I like that too. That's one of my favorite modes. I do a lot of co-op all dungeons, so that's going to be a fun one.
Were you excited or a little bit nervous to be leading off the league games for your team?
A little nervous just because it's match 1, but I'm very comfortable with open mode, so nothing too spectacular.
Any particular week that you're looking forward to racing in?
For sure, week 7, co-op all dungeons, and also cross keys. We're playing against 2 Pearl, 2 Furious. I think that's going to be a fun one.
So now that you're all set for the week, obviously you're going to be cheering on your teammate Pretty Wong on Thursday. Anything you want to say to the competition Virtual Cat for that Thursday match?
Hopefully you get a seed like this and you route it poorly and Birdwong wins.
And now the spectacle is really on.
Yes.
Do you find that going into league matches, is it pretty much the same as any other kind of like 1v1 match, or do you do a little bit of extra prep work on your opponents?
I think it's less so. I think, well, you're playing part of a team, you're not a solo player, so there's less of a burden on each match. But then it's also you want to lead your team, you want to do well. But no, I think of it as any other match.
Any other thoughts about this seed? Any regrets or what you felt good about in this seed?
Well, you know, MITs for Dark World access, fantastic. You know, I'm just glad it was a good full clear. I'm excited to start the league off with a win, and thanks for everyone for restreaming and kicking this league week 1 off. I see there's been a ton of matches on the schedule, tons of volunteers, so it's just awesome to see the league starting like this.
Well, GG's once again. Thank you for playing. You put on a spectacular performance for your team, getting those all-important 3 points.
Well, thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Shareen from the Cloud Parade, the winner of this match over WesSideVandal. It's WesSideVandal going through this Turtle Rock.
And if you do want to follow Shareen, you can do a little !R to get both Shareen's and WesSideVandal's Twitch handles. Be sure to give them a follow. It's free. It helps support the runners, and you get the fantastic entertainment of watching them play this great randomizer.
Speaking of great randomizers, we have something coming up in about a half an hour here on Speed Gaming 4, don't we?
We do indeed. It will be the... Oh, I lost my place on the sheet.
I'll go ahead and give you an assist on this one. Coming up at 9 o'clock, we have the weekly SMZ3 race coming up here on Speed Gaming 4.
That will be a hard mode race, hard logic. So if you're a fan of lava dives and suitless Meridia and all those other fun Super Metroid tricks, take a look at those.
I can't say I am personally, but I like seeing people try it.
Oh, it's so much fun though. And you get 2 out-of-the-way locations that chat loves to beg items for, as WesSideVandal gets his last key on Laser Bridge, going to take the safety door.
Yeah, so that way if anything happens to him and Trinex, he's got a easier exit as opposed to having to backtrack through. Now, thankfully, he was able to get that key on Laser Bridge, because if he wasn't going to be able to, then he would have to be backtracking through part of this dungeon once again.
Yeah, he did choose to skip the big chest, which had that small key in it. There was no guarantee that there had to be a small key on Laser Bridge.
Yeah, we never saw what was it. I mean, WesSideVandal ended up checking it, but we never saw it from Shareen, so there was that possibility too that came into play. So here we go. Trinex Tempered Sword, half magic. Should be a decent fight here for WesSideVandal.
Ice Rod equipped, waiting for that Firehead to come out.
Oh, he thought he had the 5th hit. What ended up happening is that when he got the 3rd hit on the Firehead, he got it at the same time that the head turned back to normal. So the hit didn't count, even though it did the owl motion.
Get a little bit of ice to navigate on the floor. Luckily has that half magic to get a few extra Fire Rod shots in.
Gonna have to just be a little bit careful with 4 hearts remaining, but hopefully he can navigate the 5 hits he needs for this final stage of Trinex. Gets 1 spin, so 3 hits remain. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Good job.
Nicely done. Get that 7th crystal that will open the Ganon's Tower for WesSideVandal. See what route he decides to take through Ganon's Tower. I do not believe that there was there a small key in the Hope Room? Fortunately, can't quite remember that check. If there was, he'd be able to save a little bit of time by going right first and going straight to the compass chest. Any other league races that you're looking forward to this week, Rick?
Well, obviously I have a little bit of personal reasons for looking forward to JTB versus the Synac tomorrow night. Gee, I wonder why.
Couldn't have anything to do with the fact that Synac might be your teammate.
Guilty as charged.
And which division are you in again?
That would be the Lost Woods division. Should be a real fun group here for us too. We got Willard J. Bradley's team that we're facing here in week number 1. JTB's facing off against Synac, and I've got JP coming up on Saturday. Got Filian's team next week. That should be a lot of fun as well.
That should be fantastic. And Wes is going right side first, so we'll be able to get that small key a little bit quicker.
But I do have to be honest with you. There's another match that is tomorrow that I'm really looking forward to.
Might it be in this very same Lake Hylia division?
No, I'm actually not going to say that one because it is actually going to be a rematch of the main tournament between Ninban and Zelda.
Oh, wow. That will absolutely be a great match to watch.
That's going to be tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern over on Speed Gaming.
Wes gets his large key and make his way up the tower.
Yeah, but he needs to get a small key first, and then he can make his way up to the right hand or up the tower. He's going to go do that right here in the hammer peg room. By the way, just want to give a big shout out to the SG Live 2020. We got an announcement coming up real soon about that. We're working behind the scenes to get a date for that taken care of. We should be able to announce that real soon.
And I imagine that will be announced on the main Speed Gaming Discord as well.
Absolutely. So we'll get that up to date as soon as we get the dates announced. SG Live 2020 coming this fall. We'll announce where it's going to be as well, maybe in the same Virginia area.
That'll be absolutely worth it. I hope I can make it this year. See how it works out. There's a lot of great tournaments on the docket, like the SMZ3 that's going to be starting again soon, as well as I believe Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise Randomizer.
Yeah, shout outs also to the crew of FF1R who put a lot of money into the pool already for their tournament. Ooh, WesSideVandal ended up uncovering the switch, but never touched the switch. It got probably that bottom part of the sprite that touched it, which means it didn't trigger the switch.
Unfortunately, sprite hitboxes are not quite what you always expect them to be. Is going to make a quick stop at the safety room.
It makes a whole lot of sense when you got 4.5 hearts. Unleashes the beast, so he's going to go grab a fairy. Probably go ahead and... Well, no, I thought he was going to scoop one up, but he ends up taking both of them for the health.
That's not too bad. He's at 17 hearts. That will give him a full refill. One fairy wouldn't have gotten all the way. Unfortunately, Sword Beam's playing havoc with his strats here in Gauntlet 1.
Why can't this be like Zelda 1, where the sword beams do the same damage as the sword that wields the beams?
That would be a fantastic change. I'd even be okay with them doing one less, you know, if Tempered Sword Beams did Master Sword damage.
Like a poke?
Exactly. No, we're stuck with Silly Fighter Sword 1 damage from them as he is into Gauntlet 4.
Yeah, the fourth and final room of the gauntlet here takes care of it. Gets ready to face off against the Lammola.
Gonna powder this Bunny Beam for a Fairy 2 bottle this time.
Yeah,
we'll
I think
set the Lammola.
that's letting you finish. That was a solid first 2 head kill there.
That wasn't too bad. Powdering that anti-fairy does set the Landmo's pattern a little bit different, so you don't have your normal 0 cycle setup, but that was well done. On to one of the most satisfying rooms in the game.
Yep, takes care of the Wiz Robes in that first room. Gets in here to the second room. We'll try to take care of these just as fast.
Nicely done.
Absolutely.
Won't quite have the same issue as magic as Shareen did, since he does have that half magic from the library.
And onward we go to floor number 6. He is going to have to kill the mini Helmasar to get the key in this second room.
Silver Arrows is a nice way to take care of it.
Oh, for certain.
I'm a fan of medallions myself. I will spam medallions in the gauntlet every day. I don't care how slow they are.
Bombosing the gauntlet is very nice and satisfying when you've got the time to do it.
Ether's actually a good choice as well. It will kill
true.
the Stalfos and the Give Dose as well as is a bit quicker. As Westside is on to Moldorm 2, gets his 2 Tempered Sword spins.
Yeah, the Ether strats is very, very nice when you end up using them in that torch room instead of Skull Woods.
Yes, it saves you some magic and saves a little bit of time as well.
Especially when you don't have a lot of a really good sword, because then you can save that for the Fire Rod for Mothula.
Exactly. Or that final Gibdo that may hold your key, as WesSideVandal is into Aghanim 2. Never got a chance to see Aghanim 1 this seed, as our runners, I'm sure, are very pleased.
Yeah, I don't think they are disappointed about missing out on Aghanim 1. As we start off with a 2 cycle here with 1 and 1. And 1 as well for cycle number 3 for WesSideVandal.
It really is a trigonometry fight. It takes a lot of practice about learning about how your sword will deflect those balls to hit Aghanim properly.
And it just really comes down to getting yourself into a position where once he releases the orb, then you move to the south just a little bit and then is able to redirect it onto him. But Aghanim 2 is down here for WesSideVandal. Now getting ready to face off against Ganon. And also another reason for the runner to finish off a seed is that it can limit the amount of fantasy points that the other opponent can pick up by the distance of how well you end up getting a win. So here we go, Aghanim 2, or rather Ganon now for WesSideVandal.
Looking for 12 tempered swings per phase. Is using some cape strats to get some double hits in.
Yeah, definitely using a good advantage here of the cape. Just gotta be kind of mindful how much magic he has remaining, because he still does have to light up the torch.
He does. Even with torch glitch, you may need 2 cycles of the lamp. I believe he has 2 lamp shots left in his magic bar.
Should have a little bit more of that with half magic.
Getting the same phase 3 Ganon teleports that Shareen did. That RNG is set for each seed.
That was close. That was really close. If that fire bat hit him, he'd be down. Oh, that was close
second
too.
One. Got that silver hit. We'll see if we can get another double in.
Looks like that was just a single.
Oh. Got the lamp lighting.
Yeah, just needs one more
to go.
There we go. GG's WesSideVandal.
Absolutely. Get some GG's in chat for WesSideVandal. Just needs to cross the bridge. And completes this seed for Team Third Strongest Mole with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 8 and 49 seconds. We will see if we can get Wes in here for an interview and some comments.
And with that, we have WesSideVandal joining us. GG.
GG's.
GG's.
So,
your
that felt
thoughts?
really good for the first hour, and then it didn't feel good for the second hour.
You stuck to logic really well. You got those boots early, you got your flippers early, you followed those flippers to the hook shot, got the bounty on Death Mountain, and then it just kind of stalled out, unfortunately.
Yeah, me and Shareen were talking in SRL while it was waiting to catch up because of the delay and everything. And honestly, I feel like if I go into the unknown that was Tower of Hera, rather than go, okay, what did I miss in Thieves Town and Swamp Palace, I feel like it's a little bit closer. Not enough to make up the gap, but yeah, looking back on Thieves Town and Swamp Palace, yeesh.
Yeah, it was a difficult call to make. Again, following that logical hook shot, getting both the hammer and the mirror on Death Mountain, it feel like, well, there can't be anything else up here that I'm going to need, right? And then finding that bow in Swamp Palace and immediately going back to Podmeester makes all the sense in the world. It just didn't lead to anything.
Yeah. Well, and then Swamp didn't really have anything else in it either, which was, again, another thing where it was like, I figured, well, I've already been to Thieves and Swamp, so maybe I missed something here as opposed to going to Hera.
it did look really good early in the seed when you got those boots early, you got the Samaria early, you had that for a while. And Shareen took a while to go back to Sahasrahla to get those boots. So it was pretty close for a while. I think if you had gone and committed and full cleared the rest of Dark Death Mountain while you were up there, that could have made the race a lot closer. But I'm curious about your thoughts about that.
I don't know why I didn't actually go to Dark Side Death Mountain sooner than I did. Come to think of it, because I actually kept note of. I'm trying to remember. There were a few things where I thought, this is a weird decision that I'm probably going to have to justify, and now I can't remember any of them.
I think one of the ones was that the lamp was in the escape. It was with Uncle in the escape, and so that was waiting for your logical access to Death Mountain.
Yeah, I tend, especially with darkroom logic, I tend to just kind of leave it alone until I feel like I absolutely have to do something with the dark room. About the only exception I'll make for that is doing like the Eastern Dark Room, because that one's fairly easy to break. So, but like for some reason doing Old Man Rescue in the dark or doing like Palace of Darkness in the dark doesn't really occur to me until it's basically one of my last appealing options.
That's more than fair. Any other thoughts or comments about this seed?
No. Thanks for sticking around, and GG's to Shareen. And that was, I will admit, it was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I figured I was going to be like 4 crystals behind, still looking for 4 items, and as it was, I had basically just hit go mode when Shareen got done. So, felt pretty good, and it felt a lot better than it could have. And looking forward to the rest of the year or season.
Yeah. The book and the ice rod kind of slowed things down for Shareen, who pretty much was in position to pull the pedestal once he was back up on the mountain where he found the book inside of Spike Cave. So that ended up helping make things a little closer. Plus the fact that the bow was in Swamp Palace. Unfortunately, you yielded the time by having to double dip the dungeons.
Yeah. And yeah, that was that again. Yeah, just that was the main. That's the main hindsight is 2020 thing that I'm looking at is instead of going, well, I haven't even seen Hera yet. There could be something there. I went into Thieves Town earlier and I died in the front 4 and decided, okay, I'll come back later. And then I went into Swamp and noped out because there was 5 items left in Swamp. There was also 5 items left in Palace of Darkness and Eastern, and those 2 are crystals, whereas Swamp was just 1 pendant. So. Yeah, but tough call, and unfortunately made the wrong one, but still a lot closer than I expected it to be.
You represented Team Third Strongest Mole very well. You are indeed the 3rd strongest.
Indeed.
So now all eyes for your team turns to Virtual Cat. Anything you want to say as inspiration for Virtual Cat for his match against Pretty Wong coming up on Thursday?
Just don't double dip pendant dungeons. Never seems to turn out well for me, at least. So, yeah.
And naturally, we're not going to be done with you. We're going to be seeing you for at least 3 more races during this league. You said before this race that you were looking forward to Mystery Week in week number 4. Why is that?
Just kind of because the weights, while most of the really into the reads kind of stuff is disabled or very very has a lower shot of happening. I don't know where that sentence was going. Anyway, there's still some potential for some really weird options to happen there, and if the runners aren't prepared for it. It could be a chance for some interesting upsets. Like for example, I'm pretty sure we're facing Pug Trio that week. So one of us is probably going to have to face Andy. Which yikes.
Well,
but anything can happen with Mystery.
Absolutely. Who knows what can end up happening with Mystery? We got to start wrapping things up because we've got the Super Metroid Zelda 3 weekly race, the hard weekly race coming up in 8 minutes from now. So we got to go ahead and wrap things up now. But GG's to you and good luck to you and your team in the remainder of this week and the weeks that lie ahead.
GG's and well played.
Jeez.
All right, give it up for WesSideVandal of the third strongest Mo. So that's going to do it here for the Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 2. I'm Adirondack Rick saying, hoping that you can join us for Super Metroid Zelda 3 Randomizer coming up in just a few minutes here on Speed Gaming 4. Shout outs to everyone who was on board with this crew.
I bought our tracker here, doing a great job behind the scenes, keeping those items lit. And be sure to follow our runners one more time. Give my co-com Rick a follow, our tracker iBot, and be sure to follow Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 through 6, as well as the ALTTPR League channels.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and wrap things up. Zelda 3, Super Metroid, the Combomizer, coming up next here on Speed Gaming 4. Stay tuned.